everyone, it's Taylor Janet and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the story how I got into Spelman College / why I chose Spelman. There are so many versions of this on the internet, and I know this because last year when I was applying to Spelman, I'm pretty sure I watched every single one of them. But I wanted to tell my story because I think there's a twist, but it's a story that I think people need to hear and that I want people applying to Spelman to understand. When I was thinking about how I was going to tell this story, trying not to ramble and get confusing, I took notes on my iPad, so if I'm looking down referring to it, that's why. There's like hella pages of notes on here, and I'm going to try to make this video kind of short, but if it's long, I'm sorry. I just want to give you all the information that I have. I also broke it up into categories so that it's easier to follow. I want to start off by giving you guys some background. A lot of Spelman girls, if you talk to them, will tell you that Spelman has always been their #1 choice, and it has been since they were little kids. This was not my situation at all. I'd heard about Spelman my entire life because my mom graduated from Spelman, but if anything, that made me not want to go to Spelman. Not because I thought it was a bad school or I didn't want to go to where she went, but my mom has a totally different career path than my intended career path. And so when I thought of Spelman, I thought of like a school for like English majors and history, just very like, I guess it just really wasn't like STEM based, and I really thought that I had to go to like a research university, something like that. Last summer, the summer of 2016, I did Spelman's early college program with a major in biology, and this completely changed my view on Spelman. I was surrounded by a diverse and excellent group of girls and teachers. I realized last summer that I'd never had a black teacher before, and that blew my mind. So between that and talking with like our RAs of the program and seeing how well they were doing, and then attending a day in the life, I was pretty much convinced that Spelman would take me to where I wanted to go, and I decided that I wanted to go to Spelman College. I ended up applying to Spelman College EA, or Early Action. That is applying early. I wanted to apply early to show my commitment, but I still wasn't really ready to apply ED, which is like binding. So step 2 was applying to Spelman College. Like I said before, I applied early action. The deadline for that is November 15th. I applied to Spelman with a 3.04, and I also had a Spelman transcript from my ECP biology class with an A on it. So I guess I kind of had a 4.0 in Spelman, like not really, but you know what I mean. I definitely had a Spelman transcript applying there. So I just also want to say my 3.04 comes from an extremely rigorous college preparatory school where a 4.0 isn't the norm. Just to be clear, a 3.0 at my school isn't bad, but it isn't great, if that makes sense. Some of my extracurriculars have been varsity tennis. I played softball, really active in my school's theater department, vice president and president of my chapter of Jack and Jill, winning Distinguished Teen Awards, the president of our school's community service club. I said this in an earlier video, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but I wrote my college application essay about makeup, how I believed there was a lack of diversity when it came to ranges of shades of products for black women. My letter of recommendations, I had 4. I had one from my biology teacher, I had one from my engineering teacher, I had one from my Spanish teacher / advisor, and I had one from Dr. Tillman, who was a professor at Spelman College. After I'd sent in my application, I also interviewed with my admissions counselor when she came to Pittsburgh. She came to my school, and I made sure I contacted her, and I was able to chat with her about, you know, my application and stuff like that. Part 3 is waiting, aka the worst part. No matter what school it is, waiting is the worst. I think the worst thing is I couldn't sleep and time went by so slowly. So basically, at my school, we have this thing where we go in with our college counselor and our parents, and we have a one-on-one, and we talk about the list of schools we're applying to and where we stand with each school. And we went through what schools were like my likelies, which ones were reaches, and which ones were like in my range. And I remember my college counselor said that like Case Western, University of Miami were reaches for me. Everything else he said was in my range or likely. And then he said, Spelman Taylor is for sure. You're a shoo-in. And I'm not a person to like assume I'm getting into any school. However, that's what he told me, and I took that with a grain of salt going forward, but I was like, okay. He said, worst case scenario, like, you get, like, rejected from Howard, like, that's it. Spelman, you're good. He told me that, but I still had weird vibes. My weird vibes continued because one night, guys, this is so trippy to me. I had a dream, literally, that I was going to get deferred. So basically, in my dream, I was with Marissa, my current roommate, and we were back in the early college program where we met. She was like, Taylor, like check your portal. Like, oh my god, like they just updated our portals and they're telling us whether or not we got into Spelman. So she logged in first and whatever. And it was just her name, and then it had a green dot next to it. And I remember I logged into my portal, all of this is in the dream. And it had a gray dot, and then it just said pending. I remember being like, oh my god, what does that mean? What does that mean? I like to think that like pending that happened, was like God telling me in advance that I was gonna get deferred from Spelman. So I was still waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then early December, early decision people found out. I remember Marissa called me, she was crying, she's like, I got it! I was like, yes! Like, it's lit. And from that point, I checked my portal approximately 80,000 times a day. I woke up, I checked my portal. I woke up at 2 a.m., I checked my portal. Like in the middle of class, I checked my portal. I stayed checking my portal. Like a watch pot never boils, but also I kept watching. Just from what I'd heard from other people, I knew that early action people would find out usually right before or on Christmas. So especially as that time got closer and closer, I started like getting more and more anxious. As I would wash things, have like Spelman shirts or PJs or whatever. I have a lot of Spelman stuff because, like, you know, my mom went there. She picks me up things from like homecoming and stuff. I wouldn't wear it. I would fold it up and I'd put it in a drawer so that when I got my acceptance, I would have a full-fledged outfit to post with my acceptance. Like, it was lit. I even planned to get my acceptance sneakily because I know my mom was at work or whatever, wrap it, put it under the tree, and everyone would cry and it would be a big thing. December 24th, nothing. December 25th, nothing. December 26th, Boxing Day, so nothing. But by December 27th, I was like, okay, like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna find out. And I checked the mail, like, okay, guys, when I say I would hear the mailman and I would sprint downstairs, it was that real. Nothing in the mail. It was pretty early in the day, like maybe like 9 or 10. I was FaceTiming Jordan and we were just chatting or whatever. And I was telling her like, I'm gonna find out soon, like, like I'm so stressed. And Marissa called me. Marissa, like a little backstory, has always been calling me, checking up to see if I'd heard anything, giving me like word on what other people had found out, giving me word like if other people found out, stuff like that. And she's like, Taylor. I was like, yeah. She's like, check your portal, like everyone's portals were updated. You should know. Keep me on the line. It's like, okay. So I hung up with Jordan. I logged into my portal. I saw it was like a PDF type of thing, like you can click to open your letter. And the first thing I remember is I didn't see the word congratulations. Our college counselor in senior seminar had said, if you don't see congratulations right away, it's not good news. So I said, oh no, like I don't see congratulations, what's going on? I also realized this wasn't really a rejection, and so I was confused. I think I read that letter over and over and over again, and then I remember going, I think I got deferred. And we're just like, what? Like, that's crazy. Like, you should have your mom call the school. And I just like hung up on her. I told Jordan and I hung up on them, and I was by myself. And it was a good thing I was by myself because I was just not okay. I was sobbing hysterically. Like, it just kind of felt like my world was ending. I sat there sitting, crying my eyes out for hours and hours and hours, and I genuinely thought it was the end of the world. My mom came home later and she made me feel better, whatever. But the whole situation for me at the time was just painful and embarrassing. I had cotillion practice that night, and it was kind of a situation where I didn't really talk about like my college life, but also I think people knew that I was applying to Spelman just because I'd always like gone to Spelman programs and my mom went to Spelman. It was just kind of like people assumed I was going, and I just didn't talk about it because I was really embarrassed, like I said, that I didn't get in. Also, someone that I knew had gotten accepted into Spelman, and I remember them not being at all serious about it, and it felt like, to me, not for them, but like for the school, it felt like a slap in the face because they're letting in people who I knew didn't care as much as I did, but I guess because they had higher GPAs or whatever, they got in. So that hurt even more. I was like, okay, Spelman, like, you're taking people who don't actually care as much as I do, and I'm over here like pouring my heart out to you, Spelman, and you're just not meeting me halfway. So step 4 is moving on / anger. Like I said earlier, I felt unappreciated and I felt confused. I felt like I gave them everything I had and they couldn't appreciate me. There was even a point where I found my college counselor and he had told me, he said, Taylor, you know, I don't know what happened, because I told you, he told me I was just shooing to get in. So I don't know what happened. He even told me at one point that he thought that they got so backed up in the admissions office that he didn't think that they actually read my application and they deferred it, because he said that's what they did at CMU, which is where he used to work. But okay, I'm not a person to take word from just one person. My mom called Miss Tiffany Nelson, who's the director of admissions at Spelman, and she explained the reason they deferred me was because of my problematic freshman year grades. I had a few C's on my freshman year transcript, and as an upperclassman I had only A's and B's, but they just wanted to make sure that my grades stayed strong. This is when everything clicked for my mom. She told Miss Tiffany that I have ADHD and I wasn't diagnosed with it until halfway through sophomore year, and you could even see in my transcript, like before and after my diagnosis, how there was a drastic increase in my grades. And then she was like, oh, okay. And she was like, have Taylor's doctor write a note explaining that situation, because obviously like anyone can say, oh, I have ADHD, blah, 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 blah. But she said, have Taylor's doctor write a note, and that obviously is a big factor, make sure she keeps up her grades, blah, 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 blah. So my doctor did write a note and send it in, and I sent in my second term grades as well. So now it was really on to waiting, but part 2. This time, I think the waiting process was a little different. Spelman this sounds dramatic, but it's true, Spelman did break my heart. And I wasn't interested anymore because I definitely had built up a wall. I was really starting to look into other schools. I had gotten accepted into Case Western, and I was looking into Agnes Scott because they showed a lot of interest in me. And it really wasn't until the end of March where I started to get over myself and I started to reconsider Spelman again. So part 5 is notifications part 2. So like I said, I was definitely getting more and more interested in Spelman again. In Jack and Jill in the spring, there is a regional teen conference, and all the senior teens have a thing where they go up to the mic and they announce their school. And the day we were supposed to announce our decisions in front of everybody was also the day that Spelman notifications were being mailed out. And I was like, like again, back to the checking my portal. Wait 5 minutes, checking my portal again, wait 5 minutes, and the cell signal was really bad. It was crazy. It was also different because Marissa was with me that time, and my friend Memphis. Marissa and Memphis were both with me. They're both Jack and Jillers who are going to Spelman, and they were like both with me. I was like, like I'm stressed, and they're like, I'm stressed with you. Like it was a mess. By the end of the night, I realized they weren't gonna update the portal, and I ended up saying Case Western into the mic. Marissa told me I should claim it and speak Spelman into existence, but I also didn't want to jinx it, so I ended up saying Case Western. Directly from the conference in Boston, I went straight to Atlanta because my cousin Emily was getting married that weekend, and the wedding was at like 4 p.m. so we flew in like really, really early the morning of the wedding, and I had my Spelman sweatshirt on. And when I was getting into the Atlanta airport, a random stranger runs up and gives me a hug, and she said, hey Spelman College, like I'm class of blah 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 blah, like how are you? I was like, oh, I'm good, how are you? It was from that moment, like, where I had, like, a stranger come up to me and give me a hug, where I made the firm decision, if I get into Spelman, I am going. A lot of schools will tell you a story about, like, their alumni seeing you in whatever college's gear and coming up and talking to you. But the truth is, like, not all colleges are gonna have that, like, it's cool or whatever, but when I got to see it for myself, I said, this is real deal. The sisterhood is real deal. And I just knew it was something that I had to get my hands on. So part 6 is announcements. The day after the wedding, we were in the airport to fly home, and my flight ended up getting delayed, so we're stuck in the Atlanta airport. And Marissa, because she does everything Spelman, called me again. And she said, Taylor, she said, portals are being updated at 5 p.m. And I looked at my clock and it was 4:53. And this is what I call the longest 7 minutes of my life. Like I said, the waiting process went slow, but like those 7 minutes felt like 7 years. I turned off my phone completely, like was just breathing, blah, 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 blah. Like I told my mom's like, oh my god, like she's like getting excited, but she doesn't want to get excited. She's like, do you want me to check for you? I said, no, like I gotta check, like this is real, like this is me. Sitting in the Atlanta airport with my Spelman hat, my Spelman sweatshirt, and it's like the moment of truth. So 5 o'clock, I log into my portal, like I'm shaking, like oh my god, I was literally like I was shaking, and then the first word I see is congratulations. And I just like give this huge exhale. It felt like there's a weight lifted off of my shoulders. And that's when I literally said, oh my god, I'm done. When I got accepted, my mom was like, oh my god, does this mean you're going? And I'm like, yes. And then she pulls out the notes section of her phone and she's like, good, because I already have like my post for Facebook. I drafted it already because I knew you were gonna get in, blah, 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 blah. And she was the first one to post it. And part 7 is just my final thoughts. I found out at Spellbound that there were 8,000 girls who applied to Spelman my year, and only 550 girls were accepted. So despite whatever you Google Spelman acceptance rate to be, it was way more competitive than anyone could imagine. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Applying to college is way more competitive than it seems to be. I think Spelman's says like either 39, 48, something like that. But for me, the only thing I know is that 8,000 girls applied, 550 slots. That's competitive. And I think, like I said, the process itself was ridiculously emotional and draining, but at the same time, it was so humbling for me. It really gave me time to think about all of my college decisions, make sure I made the right decision for me. I can say now that I am so grateful that I got into Spelman College. I know that going into Spelman College, I'm going to work to make sure that I got in for a reason. And that's it. That's my application story to Spelman College and why I chose Spelman College. Like I said, I chose Spelman because of the sisterhood, all that. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give me a huge thumbs up. Comment what you want to see more from. Subscribe for more content. I'm starting Spelman literally so soon, you guys. I don't know when I'm gonna post this exactly, but move-in day vlogs and room tours and all that are ridiculously soon. And I'm so excited to take you with me. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything, okay? Thanks, you guys. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video.